without further delay, let me introduce Dr. Jerry Chin to everyone. Thank you. So he very familiar with all this seed nutrition, and he been helping a lot of people of different type of diseases, and he also have a lot of testimonial.
Before I start, let's talk about supplements. There's a lot of argument, debate about whether we need supplements. If you live and eat perfectly healthily, obviously you don't need. You get all the best air, the best water, the best foods that you can find, uncontaminated. Then with that kind of a lifestyle, you obviously do not need to take any supplements. But in reality, in today's world, the air is bad, the water is bad, the food is worse. So with all that kind of poisons that's available out there, I think it is important now that we take some form of supplements to benefit our health. Now, the most important thing is how do you choose one? Because if you go to the vitamin shop, pharmacy, health shop, there are thousands of products from all over the world. And obviously all of them claim they are good. Now, be careful, because many of the mass market vitamins are quite useless. And in fact, many of them are harmful for Earth. If you take too much of those things, it will damage your liver, it will damage your kidney, and give you a lot of bad side effects. As a general rule, you should always choose something that is natural, something that is based on whole food, something that is as close to the food that you eat, not something that is or something that you've unheard of. Okay. Now, how do you compare good versus bad? Generally, the guidelines is you want to avoid things that are extracted. The reason it's extracted is because you take it out. For example, you extract vitamin C from an orange. Now, eating an orange and extracting out the vitamin C is very different, because in the orange, you have a lot of other nutrients that come with it that makes the vitamin C absorbable. Like, for example, calcium. Many of you don't know that an orange will have calcium in there. It's got fibers. And most importantly, it has enzymes, which allow the food to be fully absorbed. You do not want items that are isolated, which means single vitamins that are processed into a single pill, like a vitamin pill or a calcium pill. Those are very bad. Concentrated, because they want to make it small, they will concentrate it. Synthetic, why is it synthetic? Because it's easy to produce, it's cheaper, and you can concentrate it when it is synthetic, just like a drug. You can make it very small but very powerful, and it is not something natural for your body. So anything artificial, distilled, benzoate, usually is sodium benzoate or potassium benzoate or potassium sorbate or sodium sorbate. These are all known preservatives that are approved to be used, but in small quantities. But if you take a lot of those, it will have a lot of side effects for you. Some may cause cancer. So you want to go as far as possible for things that are whole food, not heated, cold pressed, always natural with no chemical preservatives. Now, the uniqueness of Soplus is that it is a very powerful antioxidant, rated 6.0 ORAC, which I will explain later. And it's got healthy oils, which we call essential fatty acids. Essential fatty acids are omega-3 and 6, which our body cannot produce, but we need it from the food that we eat. Now, because we use seeds, our nutrients are always broad spectrum, which means it is not isolated or single. It is across the board. And that is the kind of health benefit you need, because the purpose of a seed is to become a tree, is to grow and spread more seeds. So you need to have full spectrum nutrients. Otherwise, the seed cannot grow into a tree. Now, to make it even more powerful and special, we have added 2 more ingredients called the D-ribose and the trans-resveratrol. I will explain more later. But right now, I just want to say that we are natural, vegan, whole food with no added chemicals. It is not highly processed like pills, tablets, powders, or fish oil. In fact, fish oils are pretty dangerous to consume. It is not a good thing. You can always Google fish oil and cancer, and you can see the prostate cancer, and you can see the latest research report from Harvard. We formulate the product as a gel suspension so that it can be absorbed easily, because when you take pills and tablets and powders, your body needs to break it down, digest it, and you waste a lot of it. But in terms of a gel suspension, the absorption starts in your mouth, because we have a lot of blood vessels in the mouth, which is why it's easy to bleed at the mouth. So when you consume Soplus, it is a good idea to drink it slowly, so you have the chance to absorb it in your mouth. As Kevin mentioned earlier, we use a very high-tech packaging that is used for outer space travel, because it can keep our very sensitive ingredients fully protected using this high-tech packaging. And it is convenient, disposable, and you do not need to put it in the fridge. But of course, you do not want to put it in a place that is too hot. I mentioned antioxidants plus oil. Now, oil is something that is so critical in our body because we need it. It's in our brain. Majority of our brain is made of oil. All our skin, blood vessel, nerves, hormones, each cell, we are made up of trillions of cells. Each cell has a membrane, and this membrane allows oxygen, nutrients to go in, and all the waste to go out. It is the firewall. It is the protection for the cell, but at the same time, it must be something called permeable. It must be able to let the food come in and the waste go out. So the health of your cell membrane is very, very critical. Now, we know that 20-30% of oil is made out of fat. And where does it come from? It comes from the food that we eat, the meat, the fish, the chicken, the beef, and also majority from cooking oil, which is loaded with heated up processed oil. All cooking oils have been manipulated and processed so that it can have a long shelf life. And the moment you heat it up and you cook it, it becomes distorted. And because it becomes distorted and it enters your blood and into your body, it starts clogging up your membrane, your brain, which is why you have things like Alzheimer's, you have Parkinson's, and you have all kinds of problems, even mental issues. So it is so important that we consume the good oil and the whole range, not just one kind. We need saturated, we need polyunsaturated PUFA, we need monounsaturated, we need essential fatty acids. So it's all kinds of oil that we need. Dr. Otto Warburg, the winner of the Nobel Prize, already proved that you need good oils for the membrane to be able to absorb the oxygen. Now, for an average oxygen that you breathe in to reach the target cells, it has to cross almost like 7 membranes, depending on which cell, because it has to go from the lungs to the red blood cells to the targeted cells. So it keeps crossing like a relay. So if your membrane does not allow oxygen to cross properly, your targeted cell may suffer from a lack of oxygen. And that would be the beginning of a tumor cell, okay? Now, in terms of the specialty of Soplus, we have a blend of black cumin seed and black raspberry seed. And the combination of the oil is a patented formula, especially only for Soplus. The technology of cold press is also trademarked. It is a proprietary, maintaining its freshness through our cold press technology. And all the ingredients in Soplus all have patent filed on it for diabetes, for immune, for viral infection, for treatment of psoriasis, asthma, allergy, cancer, as well as urinary inflammation. So you can see how powerful the ingredients are. I won't go too much into the original research because it was done at the University of Minnesota by 2 pediatric surgeons, cancer surgeons, and Mr. Mark Muller, who is our scientific advisor for seeds. They did the research on many, many seeds, as you can see on the left, and they found that the black cumin seed and the black raspberry seed were the most powerful. And when you combine the seeds, you get something called food synergy, which increases the power of the seeds. So the combination of the 4 seeds is much more powerful than the individual seeds. As I mentioned earlier, if there are no seeds, there will be no plant life because you need the seed to grow into a tree. Therefore, in each seed, there is a multiple broad spectrum nutrients that allow the seeds to grow and germinate. I mentioned ORAC6. Basically, there are 6 kinds of oxidation that damage our body. Every time we breathe, every time we eat, every time we exercise, we are being oxidized. Just like the apple turning brown or the nail getting rusty. These are all oxidation. It causes diseases, it causes aging. Now, the science has been measured that there are 6 kinds of damage to our body, and which is why we have this rating called ORAC6, oxygen radical absorption capacity. So now our product is rated 6, which means it protects you against all 6 kinds of damage. Of course, recently we were the first, but recently other products have come out and they try to meet this ORAC6 because they know that it is important. Now, be very careful because you can always add ingredients. You can add processed synthetic ingredients, vitamins, to make it into ORAC6, but it therefore will not be natural. It will not be occurring by itself as in a seed. So there is a difference between making it ORAC 6.0 compared to naturally occurring 6.0. Just as a side note, for the black cumin seed, there are many research for different benefits, but one of the strong research is on cancer because thermoquinone, TQ for short, which is found in the black cumin seed, has been proven to switch on our anti-cancer protection gene called the P53. And this was done for pancreatic cancer. And there were further research also to show that TQ works really well with certain chemo drugs to give it reduced toxicity and get greater therapeutic effects. We do have some testimonials for people who have used it for part of their cancer program. So this is something you need to take note of. Another ingredient that I mentioned earlier, D-ribose. D-ribose is actually the real energy that our cells use. Our cells cannot use sugar. It has to be processed into ATP before the cell can use the energy. Now, so our body has its own way of producing D-ribose, but as you age and as you have certain illnesses or heart problems, your production of D-ribose will be very much lower. And therefore, is it important that you add D-ribose into your diet? D-ribose will also help use your excess sugars. Therefore, it helps to lower your high sugar levels. And if you suffer from fatigue, low energy, slow recovery after exercise, or you have some weak heart problems, D-ribose is really good for you. In fact, a lot of the research for D-ribose was originally for heart, and it was done by our own scientific board member from EXA, Dr. John St. Cyr, who is a leading expert in D-ribose. I will talk about him more later. The 6th ingredient is resveratrol, which is well known in red wine. For Soplus, we use something called the trans resveratrol. There are 2 types of resveratrol. You have the cis type and then you have the trans type. The trans is better because it's highly absorbable. The cis form is cheap, but you need to convert it into trans. Your body has to do it in order for it to be absorbed. If your body is inefficient in converting it, then you're wasting your money. So therefore, always take the trans form, which is much more absorbable. It is a very powerful antioxidant. We mentioned antioxidant. It also protects you against oxidation damage. But more importantly, it has an anti-aging effect. Resveratrol has been tested using the SIRT1 protein expression because the more you have an expression of SIRT1, it means that you will live longer. Basically, that's the science behind it. If you Google PubMed, which is short for medical publication, you will see over 10,000 research papers on resveratrol. And for those of you who are crazy about research or science, you can spend your time reading about it. But all I can say is in each sachet of Soplus that you consume, it's almost like drinking 40 glasses of red wine without the alcohol and without all the other bad stuff. So you can imagine how powerful it is. So in conclusion, some of the benefits of our product, because of all the special ingredients that we have, the 6 ingredients, the 4 seeds, plus the D-ribose and the resveratrol, you have higher energy, a lot of protection against all the oxidative damage using ORAC 6.0. It's anti-inflammatory and it strengthens your immune system, even your cancer immune system using P53. And most importantly, it also heals all the damaged cell membrane. All the bad oil that you have eaten would lead to very bad cell membrane. So you need good oils to allow the cell membrane to work very well. It has a detox effect. Some of you who start taking Soplus will go to the toilet, will have some diarrhea, will have different healing crises or detox crises, even headaches, sleepiness. So these are all the detox effect. And also because of the hormonal effect, it balances your hormone. So you will start having some of this detox effect. You can see from our testimonials that we have a lot of weight loss programs that uses Soplus. And I've mentioned earlier the anti-aging effect. It is suitable for everyone, whether you are man, woman, old, young, everybody can take it. Of course, for babies, you would want to filter out the seed husk so that it doesn't choke the baby. And you will use very little, even half a teaspoon or something like that. But every little bit is good for them. I mentioned our scientific board. We have Mark Muller. He is the one that owns the patent for the black cumin seed and the black raspberry seed in combination. He started working on seed from 30, 40 years ago. His partner, Dr. Todd Mirzai, who is a plastic surgeon but uses a lot of natural healing process. Dr. John Sincere, he has published numerous publications on D-ribose. He is renowned as the father of D-ribose. He's a cardiac surgeon and he started using it for heart. But now we find that D-ribose is good for many applications, especially people with chronic fatigue, chronic muscle weaknesses, or people who exercise a lot or work out and need to get quick recovery. Dr. Charles Mascoplat, he's a specialty in nutrition and nutrigenomics, epigenetics, and again, very successful scientist and doctor. He's on our board. So you can see that we have very powerful people represented on our scientific board. And in conclusion, these are all the highlights of our product, our CoPress product that is non-GMO, very important nowadays because many seeds are based on GMO. We are 100% gluten-free and vegan. And more importantly, we also have a SGS rating for non-toxicity. Basically, we test all the hundreds of toxic chemicals that are available, and our product is completely free, as proven by our SGS certification. So that is just a highlight of what's so special about Soplus.